All right, buddy. Here we go.
There we go.
Number one, numero uno, first ever episode of the Imperfections of Days podcast. Let's go, baby. It feels like it's been
I'm excited.
a long time coming, hasn't it?
Well, I think it's been about a year.
At least.
A year in planning.
Yeah. The cool thing about this is guaranteed to be our best episode ever.
That is true.
So let's set this up a little bit. How did we get to this point?
Well, I mean, we've been talking about it for about a year. We wanted to do a project together, and we decided to do a podcast. We kind of went through the phase of picking a name, coming up with some topics, talking about it, and slowly putting it together. And finally, here we are.
And so we are, of course, both long-time Urantia book readers, and we connected on that. And I know for myself, it's been kind of a journey of figuring out how can I be of more service and kind of what am I being called to do, and trying to figure that out over a number of years, and through one thing leading to another, meeting so many people in the Urantia book community, and getting a lot of encouragement. It just led to this point of, for me, so I also, through the development of all of this, I've decided to start my own podcast, which is 1111 HQ, where I'm going to be interviewing people about personal spiritual growth. And the thinking was, me and you, Imperfections of Days podcast, will have sort of a platform where we can kind of come up with things on the fly. Like basically, if we just want to go on and discuss a certain topic, some kind of current events, we can interview someone, but basically kind of an open forum where we have a creative outlet to do something, and that will go on the Imperfections of Days channel, which will be on Hubcast. And so this episode, being our number one, is a collaboration with Urantia TLDR. We've just seen the pilot episode, which is incredible. And it's a collaboration with Derek Grimm, the creator. So I'd like to invite Derek on.
Well, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here on the first episode.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. This is going to be fun.
It's great. Yeah.
So, Derek, can you just, I think it'd be good to set up sort of from your perspective how this all came about, and talk about Channel 606 and the Hubcast network.
Okay, so in many ways that's going backwards, because Hubcast and Channel 606 was really born out of a need for some sort of way to distribute our content. Find a really high quality way to get our content out there on some sort of streaming platform. So those of us who have sort of gathered to create content, and we gather weekly actually and talk about all kinds of things Urantian and our projects, and we help each other out. We decided to form a creative collective, and we came up with the name Channel 606. And that is the channel that we've created, and it's being hosted on Hubcast. And the Hubcast network is the brainchild of a video production studio, which is located in Vancouver, Canada. And I've been working with them for about the last 5 years, and they offered me a channel. And I thought, well, this is too big for me. Let's create something bigger. And so there's 7 members in the collective, and basically we're going to be building out our own content onto that channel through Hubcast Network.
Such a great idea and opportunity, because you had come to us with this great idea to bring a bunch of content creators together. And yeah, I owe you some thanks, because you're really the person who got this going, and, you know, gave Josh and I a lot of encouragement and the space to do that. And that's really why we're here right now. So it's like the perfect opportunity.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you,
Yeah,
Derek.
definitely.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and this has been needed for a long time. I mean, you know, I've been thinking of a way to get, you know, content creators together to do something like this. And when you brought up this idea and this opportunity, you know, I found out that a lot of the content creators were thinking of the same thing. Like, you know, this is really needed. You know, it's been a long time coming. So I'm really glad to be a part of this, and I'm really glad that you made it happen and gave us this opportunity.
Well, thank you as well, because it wouldn't be a collective without other people, right? So
Very true.
Yeah, and so let's set up. Let's talk about who are the other content creators. So first and foremost, since we got him here, our man Josh Abernathy, and your Urantia Science and History channel, that you talk about that in your videos.
So basically what the Urantia Book Science and History channel is a way to talk about scientific concepts in relation to the Urantia book, how they compare, contrast, you know, and I don't want to use the word verifying, but, you know, finding the common ground between scientific theory and things that are in the Urantia book, and just seeing what we have discovered, and how that aligns with, you know, what was written in the Urantia book.
Yeah, awesome. And then, of course, we have the Urantia Book Network, which is Derek Samaris's baby. And, you know, I have to acknowledge that guy was an absolutely huge influence for me. I think it was 2020 when I discovered his channel, Urantia Book Network, on YouTube, and he was interviewing people in the Urantia Book community. And yeah, it was like that planted a seed for me, and that's like whatever is growing now has to do with him and the work that he's done. And then, of course, Chuck Thurston is also co-creator, I guess you could say, or works on those videos, Urantia Book Network, with Derek. And I mean, what an absolutely amazing team, just a force, those two guys. And then we have Jeremy Daigle, with otherwise known as Agendonter, who's creating the music for these projects. And yeah, just incredible. He's done
incredibly talented. Incredibly talented. Yeah.
And so he, just as an example, he just did the intro to my 1111 HQ podcast. And it was almost like I gave him so little information. And when I heard what he came up with, it's like, is that guy tapping into my mind somehow? Time and time again. And I know this has happened with Gary Tonge's videos. That guy's incredible.
Yeah, well, the very first time him and I worked together on the First Peoples of America video that I did, and you know, I just kind of gave him a brief idea, and I had no idea what to expect. And when I got it back and I heard it for the first time, like, it made me emotional because it was just so good, so powerful.
Yeah. And he's done the mastering and the sound design on the pilot episode we just watched. So most of the sound effects and the things that really sort of move the emotions, that's all Jeremy.
Amazing.
Speaking
of the pilot episode, one of the stars, let's just say a camera darling, has the amazing Vision Afar channel. And Gary doesn't really need an introduction when it comes to content in the Urantia book community. His services are very much sought after. Again, I feel bad for that guy because I think he's being pulled in 100 directions from people. But when I think of Gary, you think of the word service. And so we're going to be talking with Gary, of course, today. But we have something to show you first. Watch this.
Questions with no answer echo in the dark, drifting through the silence, searching for a spark. Billions of stars above us, and still we stand alone. But the silence is a mercy, waiting to come home. We're part of something greater, a tapestry of light. 7 trillion voices singing through the night. Though we walk in shadows, the day will surely rise, and the heavens will embrace us with love that never dies. A war was once upon us, a fracture in the skies, cut off from the circus, the truth behind the lies. Not punished but protected, a garden walled away, till the fear inside us faltered. Trust can find its way. We're part of something greater, a tapestry of light. 7 trillion voices singing through the night. Though we walk in shadows, the day will surely rise, and the heavens will embrace us with love that never dies. Not in vain. Each step reveals the picture, each thread a deeper view, the gift of new perspective, the universe in you. We're part of something greater, a tapestry of light. 7 trillion voices waiting in the night. Though the stars are silent, the truth is crystal clear. We were never left abandoned. Love has always held us near. Sit back, breathe in the wonder, the journey has begun. Through the eyes of Urantia, we rise to meet the sun.
All right. Urantia TLDR. Let's go, baby. We've got Derek back, and Derek, want to talk about the Urantia TLDR project as a whole, the vision. What is it, and how did it all come together?
Okay, that's a pretty open question. Excellent. So I guess at its foundation, this project is the best way that I have come up with to serve the revelation based on the talents that I have. I think that, and everything else builds on that, right? So, and when you bring up that word talents, it always brings up the image of the parable of the talents, right? So I don't think it's necessary for me to relate the whole parable of the talents, but I feel that in the Urantia book, I have been given, the Urantia book is the talents that have been given to me, and it's up to me to produce something. Well, it's either produce something or go and bury it, like is in the story, right? So I've been given this. Now the universe is sitting there waiting to see what I'm going to do with it, right? And so ultimately, this is my way of trying to multiply the talents, I guess. I don't know if that comes across as
For sure.
as an analogy, but so, you know, we know from the Urantia book that there's all of this spiritual pressure and this spiritual activity to try and upstep our planet and rescue it from, you know, everything that's happened here. And this is my attempt to give our celestial helpers some, I guess you could say, fertile soil to work with, right? And whether that soil is useful or not is up to them. But it's the most important thing is to at least try to help as best I can. And that's what this is.
Right. And so TLDR, right?
Okay. Yeah. Right. So one of the biggest obstacles that I think a lot of people in the Urantia community have is, how do we get people to read a 2,100 page book when nobody wants to read anymore? And there's a lot of really good ways that people have come up with to overcome that obstacle. But my way of coming up with that obstacle is to just show them. So that's what this is. It's going to be a 5-season, we've planned for 5-season, 5-season documentary series featuring long-term readers of the Urantia book who are going to sit there and we're just going to tell people what's in it. And then they'll at least have the broad strokes of what that vision is. And if they want to find out more, the book's always there. And so are long-term readers and people in the community that they can talk with, right? So TLDR is a very popular term on the internet that people write when they don't want to read something. It stands for too long didn't read. And I just thought that really encapsulates the whole sentiment against reading that seems to be prevalent today in society. And so that's where the title comes from, Urantia TLDR.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an amazing idea, and the scope of the vision, I mean, you are really taking on a lot with this project. Like, when I first heard about it and just like where you were planning to take it, it's like, wow, like you are setting a high bar, sir. But let's just say,
You're right.
like, look at the pilot. I mean, the quality, it speaks for itself. Like, it's amazing visually, conceptually. Yeah, just the writing, amazing job so far. And that's only the pilot. I'm like so excited to see where this is going.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's you're right. It is very ambitious, but I've been planning this out for 3 years, and every little step of it, every little piece of it, is meticulously planned out to make sure that it actually can be done. And that's why everybody is here right now, having participated in the pilot, because they've seen that vision can actually be accomplished. So I'm not saying it's not going to take a lot of work and a lot of help from the community and anybody who wants to help, but it is doable.
Yeah, and with that being said, can you talk about some of the challenges you've faced and challenges you foresee for the future?
Well, yeah. I mean, the biggest challenge is obviously going to be funding, because getting something to this high quality, I'm not going to dance around that, because it costs money. So that's always going to be a huge concern, and we're always going to be trying to figure out how we're going to fund this going forward. That said, a lot of it is just trying to find workflows to make this easier, right? Getting everybody together through interviews, making an interview workflow that works both for us who are interviewing and the people who are being interviewed, setting up workflows for doing the graphics. I'm doing graphics as well as getting a lot of help from Gary Tonge, who we'll be talking to a little bit later. It's just all of those things, putting it all together so that we have some sort of, again, workflow for just really optimizing everything and getting it done within the time frames that we've set for ourselves. Yeah. It's just, it's really, it comes down to, we have the skills. Now we just have to be organized enough to pull it off.
Right.
So I think that's where the challenge really sits.
Sure. Well, I think you've demonstrated with the pilot what can be accomplished, you know?
Well, thank you. Yeah.
And so one of the things that really, well, it's a theme really throughout the pilot, is this idea of having a bigger perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, I said it myself in the pilot, with the elephant analogy. Like, if you can't see more of what's going on around you, you're going to make some potentially dangerous mistakes based on having just too narrow a view of what's going on. The further you can step back to see the bigger and bigger and bigger picture of something, the more you're going to understand the truth of it and be able to make better decisions. And I think the stepped back vision that the Urantia book gives us is probably the biggest vision of reality that we've ever been given on this planet.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the major, that's why I called the pilot the gift of perspective, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
They've given us an amazing gift in showing us this massive vision of complete, finite, and even bigger than that reality.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's an incredible gift, and incredibly important to, I think, in everything. We all talked about that, really, didn't we, in the pilot? Being able to step back so you can understand things more clearly and see the bigger picture.
For sure. So again, you are creator, producer, writer. I am pretty sure like you are the vision for the Melchizedek character. Let's hope so with that Gilgamesh beard you got.
Actually, the vision that we have for Melchizedek looks a lot like somebody else that we know.
Okay.
And it's not deliberate, but yeah, we're still working on how everybody's gonna look. But yeah, this is 3 years work on my part too.
I'm pretty sure you're a descendant of Gilgamesh, but I'll roll with that.
Sure, why not? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So another thing I'm curious about is, can you just talk a little bit about how you discovered the Urantia book and a little bit of your history with it?
I was brought up Catholic in a small town in British Columbia. And I always used to get in trouble in religion classes. We used to have to go to what's called catechism, which is religious classes for Catholic kids. And I'd always get in trouble because I'd always be asking why. And that's not something that they really want you to ask. So I don't know. I always just had questions that I don't think were really answered within that religious framework. And once I sort of left that community and I was on my own, I had to start looking for answers elsewhere. And I ended up in university in Victoria, Canada. And a friend and mentor of mine who was also from my hometown ended up coming to that university as well about a year after me. And we always used to talk about religious stuff and just, spiritual things. And he sat me down and he says, I got a book for you to read. And I'm like, awesome, because I was in university and I was reading everything I could voraciously. And I said, so who wrote it? And he looked at me like really mysteriously and he said, angels. And I'm like, what? And I said, yeah, whatever. I'll read it. And I opened it up and there's this one paragraph right at the beginning. It says, your world, Urantia. And then it lists like where everything fits in. And I just, right from that paragraph, I just couldn't put the book down. I read it straight through in 3 days.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's 2,100 pages. That was like 16, 17, 18 hours of reading a day. I just couldn't put it down.
Yeah, and there's...
So, and I've never been able to put it down since.
Like many of us who find it, and it does something internally, like there's this internal resonance, and you're just drawn to it. And going back to this project, there are people who, just for whatever reason, because it's a large book, will not spend the time. But I love that there's people with a vision to try and not let those people slip through the cracks, perhaps, right? To try to reach people in different ways. I think that's great.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think it's time we open it up to our expert, unless
let's bring in the experts.
One of our expert speakers happens to be my co-host, Josh.
That's true.
Abernathy.
Hey.
Yeah. That's right.
Still here, man.
Josh,
Yes.
before we bring everyone else in, do you have anything to add? Any questions for Derek on that?
No, I think that was really good.
Perfect. All right. Our expert speakers. So, of course, Josh Abernathy. We also have Gary Tonge. Gary, I don't feel like you need an introduction, but I'll do it anyways. And just so you know, I brought something, and these things are not cheap. They're not easy to come by. But this is the Gary Tonge silence button.
No!
Thank you. Thank the Lord.
We will need it. No, just kidding, buddy. How are you doing?
Love you, Gary. I'm good, and I also resemble that remark.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. What a blessing to be part of this nascent show, this intrepid pilot, this expose of revelatory material, downstepped so that people might be able to sit with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or a glass of wine and enjoy it, rather than reading through some of the more concepts that are challenging and getting confused or curtailed. It's almost like bringing forth expertise from around the scholastic readers and allowing it to be distilled down. And when Derek mentioned that he it was working on this project, and we were talking last year face to face in British Columbia, I was at once somewhat taken aback with the audacity of what he was trying to do, but secondarily, and I would even put this primarily, actually, he was so precisely driven and intricately engaged with the task at hand that I told him that not only do I believe in his ability to do it, but I will give him as much of my time as possible to do it. And I am not somebody who falls quickly anymore into that type of thing. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I honestly believe this is something worth doing. I agree completely that it's a challenge, but I totally believe that it is doable, and I feel a huge blessing to be part of it. It's great. And also, I feel fantastic to be part of the premiere of the Imperfections of Days podcast. What a double blessing, a double header, if you will. So, yeah, fantastic. It's great to be here.
Blessed to have you.
Yeah, buddy.
Blessed to have you. And, I want to say on a side note there, what you said about Derek, I really felt like the same way, and I felt like it was really, really important. And after getting to know him, seeing his process, seeing how organized he was, having all his ducks in a row, I came to the conclusion that if this were to get done, he's the guy that's going to be able to do it. And, I really strongly believe in this project, and I believe you're our guy. So thank you for taking this on. I know it's a huge, huge, huge ordeal, but I'm glad that you're the one who's doing it.
Right on.
Yeah, great job, buddy.
Responsibility.
No pressure there. No pressure whatsoever.
No pressure. No pressure.
You got a lot of support. You got a lot of support, though.
Yeah. Thank you.
And last but not least, let's not leave them out. Kathleen Swadling and Trevor Swadling, they have the same last name, and they're sitting together, so you'd almost think they're married. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, well, thanks.
Great.
Very well.
Great to be here.
Yeah. Great to have you. So I'd just like to get thoughts from both of you on the project as a whole.
Well, very similar to what Gary said. When I first heard, Derek's project, I kind of thought, oh, geez, wow. No, that's you're undertaking something huge here. But again, he's a really focused guy, and he's got a skill set, and we're right behind him. Go for it. See how it all pans out. Yeah, it's a worthwhile project, that's for sure.
Yep. And when I first heard Derek talking about the project, I really couldn't visualize what he was trying to do. I just thought, what? How could you do this? But then as time went on, of course, it became clearer and clearer as he revealed more and more of what he was doing. And look, Derek lives about 20 minutes away from us, and it's great to be able to get together and have lunch together and talk and talk and talk. And I think he came for morning tea once, and it turned into lunch and beyond, because there's just so much to talk about. And just, we love Derek. I mean, we're happy to support you and see how this is all going to unfold. And we've had a lot of fun so far.
Yeah,
Thank you for inviting
you
us.
did. Yeah, thank you very much. And I think after looking at the first parts that we've collaborated in doing, and after seeing the editing, I think Derek has achieved what he wanted to do in that bit, is that it really does portray a larger perspective, and you know, sort of what you're aiming for there. I reckon, you know, you've achieved that. So look forward to the rest of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the two of you, you have quite a bit of experience with the book, haven't you?
Well, yeah, we both found it in the 70s. I found it in 74 and I found it in 76. And we didn't know each other then, of course, but it's like where to start, you know, was when we got together in 1981. So we met in 1980, and from 1981 we were together as a couple, and we got married in 82. And our whole lives have really been about, like Derek says, you know, looking at what can we do and where are our talents. I mean, you know, I've got organisational skills, and Trevor's quite creative, and we've done a lot of different things. But the first thing we've done really is started a study group. So I've had a continuous study group in our home since 1981. And then that led to us starting up conferences in Australia and doing library placement programs. We ordered a whole bunch of books from the Urantia Brotherhood, and they donated them to us, and we're able to send them out to libraries. And from then on, we've just got more and more involved in more like the administration of, you know, we started up a Urantia, we got involved with Urantia Foundation and started up the Australian office, which was one of their first satellite offices. So we're like the guinea pigs for that. And that was a long journey for us to actually run an office here, because we needed a contact point for a publisher in Australia, or you couldn't order books through bookshops. And that just went on and on and on. And eventually we went to Chicago, and we lived there for about 3 years at the foundation and helped them get themselves back together after a very difficult time. And that was just amazing experience.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, Stephen, you tell them what you were doing in Chicago.
What was I doing in Chicago? I was posting books off to people and answering the phone. Yeah, well, that's a really wonderful thing to do. I feel very blessed to talk to other Urantia book readers, and we got to know a lot of people over there, and long-term friendships, you know, just naturally emerged from all of that. So it was a wonderful experience. Yeah.
Well, the reason I wanted him to tell him what to do, and he left it out, was he got the first Urantia book onto CDs for the foundation.
Oh, the search engine.
Wow. We had the book.
That was me.
We had it on cassettes. No, that was the audio. Sorry, not the audio. No, the one where you could actually go through folio views and search text. And the foundation didn't have that, and then Trevor helped them get that together.
It was an interesting time because the internet was just starting up. I created the first Urantia Foundation's website. I opened up an email forum amongst readers. We called it the forum. I administered that. There was a lot of wonderful things we did that was a lot of fun. A lot of challenges, a lot of fun. Yeah.
And then in more recent years, since coming back from the foundation in 2000, I got involved with the Urantia. We got involved with the Urantia Association. I mean, we were there right from the start of the Urantia Association, but we got involved in being on the board. At least I was on the board, and I was the communications chair, and I was also got their website going. Renewed rather. I didn't get it going, but I we got it revised, and so about 10 years was involved with Urantia Association International. So that's been a journey as well.
Yeah, we're also musicians, and we did a little bit of live performing for about 10 years there in our lives. I'm a songwriter, and I used to run a recording studio and record other artists and things like that. So that was interesting phase we went through. Yeah.
Trevor's songs are prolific. He's a prolific songwriter. He was writing before I met him and all through, and some of his music's really good, if I may say so myself.
Wow.
But,
Anyway.
but a
He's
lot of them have
humble.
been
He's
inspired
humble.
by Urantia. A lot of them have been inspired by Urantia concepts. So not really Urantia book, but certainly the values and a lot of wisdom that's come out of that to, relate to sort of social situations and human conditions.
She likes my songs. Yeah.
I'm his greatest
Hence
fan.
you're married. That's the way it goes if you're a good musician.
Yeah.
We'd play together, and I'd play guitar and mandolin and sing, and he does guitar, and we had some other musicians that joined us for a little while.
Hey.
And it's been a fun journey. So that's, as well as having children. So we've got 3 children.
And 6 grandchildren.
Wow,
So
congrats.
yeah, life's pretty busy.
Well, you guys, you did a great job in the pilot, added some good insights. And Derek, I'm curious how you picked everybody for the pilot.
A lot of it was just who I knew right? Like Kathleen said, I live 20 minutes away from them, and we've talked about it quite a bit. So I thought, they've lived the Urantia book for 50 years, so who better than them to sit in the pilot episode. Gary and Josh, we talk weekly about the Urantia book and our projects and things like that. And I don't know if I asked her if they volunteered, but it just kind of fell into place. So that's not how it's going to be for the actual series, though. I'm really dedicated to the idea of including as many people from as many parts of the world, readers from as many parts of the world as possible, just to emphasize how global this revelation actually is. So, and we along with speakers from everywhere in the world, we also want to have this in as many languages as possible as well. But again, that's going to depend on funds.
So one of the other things that's talked about in the pilot and is a huge concept in the Urantia book and is crucial to our understanding of where this world is at right now is, of course, the Lucifer rebellion. Gary, I want to throw that one over to you. Because
easy stuff. Thanks so much.
Well, you might just have some videos on the topic, but why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because some of the material that we're using in the TLDR pilot stems from a video that was made. It was published a year and 2 days ago. On the 11th, 2024, which a large part of the video, right? Yeah, a large part of it involves the failure that was that they hit this world so hard, and as you know, anybody that knows me knows I'm a content creator and previously a video game art director and long-term graphic artist since a very young age, professionally.
Bartender.
Personal bartender to myself and my wife,
Home bar.
for certain. And anybody who comes
Anyways,
round,
I didn't mean to derail.
yeah. Come round and I'll make your Negroni. But also, there's something that was building with when we're and I mentioned him because he's a really good friend and an incredible student. Andre Uridatas and I have been friends for quite a long time now, and Paula Thompson too. And as we've been making more material, something transpired that it became like, to be analogous to the pilot episode, there was an elephant in the room that seemed to be being avoided, and that elephant in the room is the repercussions of the Lucifer Rebellion and the planetary rebellion, which our world was dragged into. And to me, it seems like a non sequitur now to discuss it, but a lot of people would be more reticent. And I know Andre would mind me saying that he is always reluctant to mention it too, because it's somewhat of a negative. But if without the canvas of recognizing why the world is confused, why the world has this divergent track from what would be a regular evolving world, I think it's quite difficult to work out how to overcome it. And I know we've touched on it in the pilot, and it wouldn't be a stretch to say that it took me a significant period of time as a knowing student of the problems on this world to be brave enough to try and undertake a description of those events and a track past them. And I know that Derek and we're all going to be working towards covering that in TLDR as well. But this world is in a difficult and complicated place. It doesn't make it hopeless in the slightest. In fact, it gives us a fulcrum to work across if we can just recognize what the problem is. And I believe that the world is tilting in favor towards overcoming a lot of the symptoms of what has happened. Due to that confusion that stems from this rebellion, this failure of planetary and system administration that damaged this planet so long ago when we were very vulnerable. But to also augment that recovery, I think we also need to know what we're recovering from. And I'm really excited and also a little frightened to help Derek expound on that in the series and to build out more of what we did last year with the video we made, which is Our World, Our History. But I really think it's a vital message for this world. I mean, wouldn't you, if you were living in any particular place, wouldn't you like to know the geography and status of it, right? I mean, to pretend it doesn't exist seems at this point too blasé and apathetic, and to not to get into too much of the weeds of the Urantia book, but they explain the Lucifer Rebellion from part 2 and part 3 of the book in a parallel. They explain it from a system perspective, and they explain it in a very gnarly and difficult planetary perspective. The fact that they spent so many words explaining this very difficult this set of events that still have repercussions today, I think we need to pay attention to, and it is far from hopeless. We're being assisted celestially to overcome this, and the most important part for me is they are not going to allow us to shortcut over this problem. They want us to, in a manifold way, step by step, overcome this problem and gain the advantage over it and progress and evolve past it ourselves with their help, but step by step. And I think that was the part that drove not just me, because your co-host here, Josh, and you, Shayne, and Derek were all involved in the writing of Our World, Our History. I think that there's a nexus point of this realization that not only are we overcoming something, but we're going to expose it and see it clearly for what it is, and see the symptoms clearly in comparison to what it is. difficult conversation, but why does truth have to always be nice?
Yeah, what Gary's touching on is also one of the main themes that I think we really want to inject into the series, is the idea that knowledge of what happened affords us liberation from the fear of it. And there's a lot of fear on this planet. So I think turning around and facing it liberates us from the fear of it. And that's how we really want to approach that in the series, I think.
Yeah, fear and confusion, right? Like, looking out to the world, and that's crucial to an understanding of the way things are. But it puts it in perspective. This is part of the bigger perspective, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Anybody else want to add anything on that?
No, it's a subject that needs to be addressed, as the Urantia book tells us, that we've got to address this subject, and it's these ideological differences in the rights of the individual and those sorts of things, and it's differences between comparing, I suppose, the selfish qualities of love compared to love as the desire to do good to others. There is a real philosophical confusion in that area amongst humanity, and the Lucifer rebellion, the teachings that Lucifer espoused has really caused a lot of problems on our planet, and we need to address those problems and understand the differences. That's my bit anyway.
Yes, and I think you can see signs of that all the time, and just this selfish, self-focused generation that we've got is reminding me a bit of these kind of sophistries that are being espoused in the world, that you're sort of like the center of the universe and everything has to be just the way you want it, and it's okay to be like that. And I could go on and on about that, but I don't want to get too political about it. But it's just a trend that bothers me a bit, with having children and grandchildren, and you seeing them growing up in this world with the dangers of social media and that kind of thing, and sort of it's a worrying time. But it does strike me as being a lot of it Luciferian. This liberty without license type of way of thinking.
Yeah.
And that might be on purpose. I mean, maybe they're trying to bring it all to the surface so
we have to deal with it.
And you can see it for what it is, and people can make choices about whether that's a good way to go or not.
I would certainly concur with that, Kathleen. I think once it's out in the light, you can see it and you say, oh, there's the problem.
Exactly. And that's how we fix things. We expose it to the light and look at it for what it really is, and overcome it and move forward with something that's much greater than it.
But knowing the way of Michael and how he organised the Lucifer rebellion, was he wouldn't step in and stop it, and he let it run its course, the time lag of justice. And if that sort of thing is going on our planet, if they're bringing things up to the surface, it could be ages and ages and ages before mankind ever says, look, that's not working. That won't work. We have to sort of get back to the garden type of thing, or get back to the thinking in terms of spirituality and the sacred and all of that, rather than just this nihilistic sort of approach to life. It's certainly not going to work, and it'll just collapse. But it could take a long time.
Yeah.
If you have to just let it play itself out to the nth degree, like the Lucifer rebellion had to, before they could lock Lucifer up.
Well, I think it's the good fights between, as I said before, between the selfish qualities of love and love's desire to do good to others, and it's a battle between perceived universal values, I think, and a lot of universal values, humanity just invents, and other universal values are values that are derived from spiritual realities. When we include truth, beauty, and goodness into the reality of our world. A classic example is a universal value is like Martin Luther King Jr. in presenting equal opportunities for black people in the civil rights movement. And, he presented a universal value that ended up winning the day. The majority of us, became colorblind because of his approach to things. So I think the important thing is identifying those universal values that create a unity of spirit rather than a uniformity of thought. And often you can distinguish between the true universal value, which does that, it creates social cohesion, and the universal values that people force you or through power want you to adopt.
I think they're not universal, are they?
That is not. Well, they can become universal, but it would be very draconian.
Well, in my view, universal values are things that are like a no-brainer to just about every country, culture, religion. They're those things that everyone can recognise as being good, true, beautiful, and good. But I think if it's a universal value that isn't true, that people say, no, that's no good, and others will say, yes, we're right, and come out with all the banners and things, it's not a universal value. But they kind of think it is, but they're trying to sort of push it onto us rather than something just coming out and everyone says, yes, that's right.
Yeah, well said. All right. I know Josh has just been waiting for this topic because it is near and dear to our hearts. Gary too, you know where we're going. UFOs, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk UAPs, formerly known as UFOs. Let's make UAP UFO again.
I love that. I'm really happy that Derek chose to go this direction with the pilot episode and talk about this, because I think in understanding the Urantia book, this is a really, really important topic, because the Urantia book talks about all these other worlds and these myriads of other beings. And so, just from that perspective alone, it's so important to realize that we are not alone. And, once you realize that we're not alone, then you can start thinking of the bigger picture and getting a bigger perspective. And, so yeah, I'm really thankful that this was a part of it. And, whether people, believe in UFOs or UAPs, or they think it's it's just a celestial component or a mortal component, or it's both, or it's just, a big hoax, it has the ability to bring people together, regardless of what people think about it. And, yeah, I'm just, I'm happy to be able to talk about it.
Oh, I know you are, buddy. So, yeah, I was just going to say, Derek, I'm curious to know, like, your this topic being included. I just wanted to hear about that.
Well, there's two things that I could say. One is that it wasn't deliberate. It was just a natural flow off of the question, what is Urantia? What is Urantia is basically, the answer to that is Urantia is the name by which we're known by the rest of the inhabited universe. And then we go into just how inhabited the universe is, which is incredibly. And then it almost seems disingenuous not to bring up the idea, well, then what are UFOs, right? If you're going to talk about how inhabited the universe is. So it was more of just a flow of the conversation thing. And I also felt that because the Urantia book doesn't really give a definitive answer either way, really, on the question of UFOs. So I kind of felt that if I was going to talk about something like that, the pilot was probably the place to do that rather than the series proper. Because the series proper is dedicated to explaining the vision of the Urantia book as the Urantia book tells us. So I guess you can call your UFO section the speculation station segment of the whole thing. But I thought it was, like I said, I thought not including it would be disingenuous to the idea of talking about an inhabited universe. So
Sure.
that's how that all happened.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the Urantia book does mention the importance of creative speculation. And
It's one of the joys that everybody can. It's a joy that everyone can engage in, no matter what level of spiritual being you are.
Right.
Yeah.
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 And
So let's do it.
additionally,
Speculate.
that it's implied that they're just not going to reveal everything. There's some things that we need to discover on our own.
Well, yeah,
And-
because you got to keep the curiosity going, right?
sure.
You can't just tell everybody everything. And what's the point of even trying to? It just kills your enthusiasm and curiosity if you know everything.
Right.
So
Yeah. And
that's
what strikes me is that, in order for the information in the UB to be understood and to have value, one needs to engage with it personally. And I feel this is the same way with this topic, because there's this idea of, disclosure is the buzzword right now, right? A lot of whistleblowers coming out and a lot of discussion about this topic, people seeing things, people having personal experiences, and engaging with this topic also needs to be done personally. So, unfortunately, there is a stigma around it. But for those who are willing to look, it definitely seems like there is a there. Yeah, anyone else want to add anything on this topic of UAPs?
I think we made our take on it fairly clear in the interviews, and just to reiterate, look, yeah, I mean, anything's possible. I've just always felt that it seems to go against the design of the universe for non-interference is a big thing, with right up to the Universal Father and the angels and thought adjusters. Free will has to be left alone. And I just doubt whether interplanetary. I mean, it might be different in the era of light and life. I can understand people could be following that sort of thing could possibly happen in the era of life and life. But while we're still evolving and still having to work it out for ourselves, I've just doubted that it would be a thing that allowed to happen. But it doesn't mean to say it wouldn't happen, or some of the more advanced people, as you were saying, Gary, in your when you're talking about it, the different type of energy, like thrust isn't going to get there, but some other kind of energy would make it happen. And that sort of makes me think, well, yeah, if we can be like Star Trek and travel the universe, that could happen. But just the way things are, I doubt it. But as I said, I'm not, I'm open to, and I respect people's opinion on it too, so I don't put any stigma on anyone.
I think I really like what Kathleen just said, and I think there's important context here. And I think when you were talking about a light and life world, and to give some context for the people who are watching the podcast, that will be a world that's progressed materially, philosophically, and spiritually to, getting close to an apex of, and potentially a completion of the evolutionary process. That you'd imagine that those beings would be able to stretch out their wings much further into the universe, and we're actually making a video about some of the details about how they probably do, but I won't go into that. Well, I'm actually really interested in what you said, Kathleen, because imagine for a moment where we are. We're a very unique world. I mean, I think everyone on this call knows that. and if you were to draw a gradient between where we are and a light and life world, that there's going to be we're broken off from the normalcy of regular worlds. And if we hadn't have had the interruption of the problems that we were just discussing with the Lucifer Rebellion, how would things be? Would our communication skills and networking and understanding of the universe around us be more robust? The Urantia book speaks to it, and I think I like the way that Derek explained that it doesn't really give too much definitive information either way, but between the lines there's a lot of pretty robust information about what it might mean to be a more progressed world. And if you were to draw a line, going back to this gradient between where we are and a light and life world, that somewhere along the line, the parts that we are missing on this world, which would be an acknowledgement of the celestial ministry that normal worlds are used to, and also the reality of us being surrounded by other mortal striving beings on many other worlds, would make logical sense in that process between us here and getting to the point of being normalized to start to be acquainted with those concepts again. It doesn't mean to say that we're going to have, a sudden surge of, arriving beings from other worlds, but it's more about, not doing what Lucifer originally tried to do and speed things up. It's about slowly and carefully, in synchrony with our evolution, reintroducing us to universe normalcy, bringing us back to the sublime knowledge that we're not alone in the universe, whether that be with our brethren from other worlds or the beings that administer to us. And I think we might be seeing that gradient increasing in volume right now. And I don't want to belabor this point, but look, I think there's a synchrony between the acknowledgement or disclosure that is happening somewhat in a kind of garbled way on this world, with admitting that vehicles from other places may be coming into our planet's airspace. But also there is another stem of it that seems to be, and I think just as importantly, and maybe more importantly, showing that the ministry that is not known to this world is also there. And I see evidence of that with people like Christopher Bledsoe, who's becoming a pretty well-known experiencer, who is just a regular guy from North Carolina who went through a pretty robust set of events in his life, but wherever he goes, he sees orbs of light above him, and they kind of communicate with him. And I don't think for a minute that what he's seeing are UFOs. I think what you mentioned in the pilot, Kathleen, I think they're likely the beings that we normally understand to be invisible, and I think that there needs to be an expansion from where we are, where we're this, you mentioned the word perfectly, nihilistic understanding of the universe, to widening out, to know that we have neighbors and we have ministry, and because that's what a normal world would know, and we've been unfortunately cut off from that due to the problems that stemmed from the rebellion's impact on this world. I'm really excited for what might happen in the short to medium term. But as you said, Kathleen, perfectly, I'm open-minded, and if it doesn't happen in our lifetime, that's okay too, right? But like, I would like it to be. I'd like to see the gradient increase, because that would be great for everyone, I believe.
Yeah, well, this is a topic that Josh and I are definitely going to be tackling on Imperfections. It's yeah, for sure. Something that's sort of near and dear to my heart because of some personal experiences. And like I said before, that's what strikes me, is it's really about personal engagement. Your personal spiritual growth is about your personal engagement with it. And there's a lot of people creating good content about these topics. I'm thinking of Jesse Michaels with his American Alchemy channel. Area 52, Chris Ramsey's channel. But anyways, some of the things related to the Urantia book that I think about when it comes to this topic is the planetary reserve core and the fact that the Most Highs rule in the kingdoms of men. And this is just my personal opinion, but it seems to be very clear in the data that there is great concern from whatever this is, this phenomenon has to do with nuclear weapons. You can follow that, and it's very clear that there are rules and regulations, and as we know as Urantia book readers, there is law, right? There are rules and regulations. So I think this is all tied in. I think the Urantia book gives us lots of clues, but again, it's up to us to look in and to make up our own minds about it.
I mean, just to interject a little bit there, Shayne, I mean, if not want to get too deep into this, but the creative speculation that Derek was inferring, the beings that talk about creative speculation 2 times in the Urantia book are they're an order of being called a mighty messenger. And the mighty messenger, without getting into a kerfuffle about it, are beings that came through the difficult experience of being mortals during a rebellion on their world. And to put it more simply, they were once human like us. And these beings, these unbelievably high beings who have made their way all the way to the center of the universe, who have perfected themselves, and then been augmented by the literal Trinity that upholds this universe, they tell us to be creatively speculative, and that's what I find so tantalizing about the Urantia book. And also what I'm excited about for this show is to build out our ability to be brave enough to carefully creatively speculate and be open-minded enough to for the possibilities that are to come. And as an artist, as somebody who's very visual, I know people that are quite happy to walk on a clear night down a quiet street with no light pollution, and they'll look at their shoes or the bushes, but they won't look up at the stars, right? I know people who do this, and if you look up at the stars and you start to contemplate the reality of where this world is residing, the magnitude of it, it can take your breath away. It can actually be overwhelming. But the Urantia book is somewhat of a Rosetta Stone to explain the context of where we are. And I think that there's so much opportunity with bringing this information into the zeitgeist, that whether it be other mortals or whether it be ministry or whether it be the true nature of God, we have, there's just an enormous opportunity ahead of us, I think.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned the words possibilities to come. And so I want to throw it back to you, Derek. The possibilities to come with this Urantia TLDR project? What's next?
Basically, we've tried to organize the whole vision and tell everybody what the vision of the book is in 4 seasons. So the first season is going to be the background, like if we're painting on a canvas, it's the whole background, it's the cosmology of everything. Season 2, we're going to talk about the problems of our planet. So we've been talking about that a little bit today. We're actually going to spend some time and do it properly. Season 3 is about the history of humanity, what it means to be human, what actually makes us human. I think that's a really important thing that not a lot of people have really grasped. Just as a little spoiler, all of the archaeologists go back and they're looking at skull types and sizes and trying to determine when we became human. But the problem is that human, whether or not you're human, is mindal. And it's not in the skeleton. It's in your mind. It's the ability of your mind to connect with the universe, Mother Spirit, basically. So we'll be talking about all of that. But, there's a lot to cover. Season 4, very importantly, is about Jesus, who Jesus is, what his activities are when he's not on Earth, why he is so important, and talk a little bit about Christianity and maybe the crisis that Christianity is facing probably at the moment. And then season 5 is a little bit special because once we're finished talking about Jesus, it's basically the whole vision is in broad strokes complete. Season 5, we haven't really named the episodes yet, but the theme is when the rubber meets the road. So the idea is basically you've got this whole vision, what are we going to do with it? And so the topics of the episodes will talk, basically explore all of that. What are we going to do with all of this? How is this going to change your life? How do you make it part of your life? How do you make the answers to all of the questions that humanity has been perplexed with for millennia? How do the answers to those questions change your life and your purpose in life, and how you see yourself as part of the universe and the adventure of this universe age? So that's basically the structure of how it's going to unfold, we hope.
Wow. Super exciting. It sounds like you got some work to do.
We certainly do.
I don't know about that. Sounds easy.
Yeah.
Well,
but it's structured and methodical. We're trying to give everybody a pretty good structured approach to it as best we can.
I'm looking forward to being with you side by side, trying to help this. And I know everybody else on this call is as well. And I just love the differences of opinions and the meeting of minds, or as Andre always calls it, my friend Andre, the union of souls, trying to bring these things together. You never know what you might say to someone that might give them the scaffolding to find something new. It doesn't always have to be right up at high. I mean, the analogy I always use is a ladder needs a rung at every level. Some people need a rung right at the ground so they can step onto it, and this is really important to try to do that. And I just love the way you're going about this. It really feels like you're trying to give people an ability to climb something without having to fear of tripping over some nebulous hurdles that they're not sure about. And I just love that. So kudos.
Well, I need it just as much as everyone else.
Once people start asking serious questions, I think there's nothing stopping them. And I think that's the. I mean, they mentioned at the end of whenever you get to a difficult point, if you really asking those questions, the spirit of truth will always speak. And these are ministries that are working within us, but you've got to be asking those questions. And if this sort of work or any of the works we're doing can provide the questions that people never thought they had, then the rest of it is up to them personally to find that path. It's a personal journey, and so anything we can do to help people find their personal path is a win.
Yeah, if it inspires them, then that's all the energy they need to move forward with it. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's our job. It's our job down here as the last link in the chain of this revelatory project. Is it's our job to get it out there and disseminate the teachings and foster study. And so you can't just hand people a book. Say, listen, read this is great. You have to put out teasers and people have to or find it for themselves, in a library or bookshop or talking to somebody or watching a series.
Yeah, I think it's, when you discover something that's so incredibly beautiful, you naturally want to share it with other people. And something as big and all-encompassing as the Urantia book, you've really got to sit down, understand it first, and then devise means and ways of creatively sharing it with other people. And that's a challenge for all of us. And that's the challenge in life. Is sharing with other people what you think is of immense value.
Couldn't agree more. Such a life on such a planet.
It is, yes.
And it's such a rewarding thing too to know that you're helping somebody in that regard. I mean, it's a reward to help somebody with anything that you offer to help them with. But when it comes to helping someone with a spiritual need, it's not hard, and it's such a lovely thing to do, to watch someone actually come alight with a revelation of, gee, wow. And you see that in study groups and conferences and things. Even when people have been reading the book, there are parts of it they've read it, but they haven't got the wow out of it. And then you're talking about it amongst other readers, and someone will sort of shine some sort of light on a bit. And they say, oh, I've never read that before. And, it's just a lovely, lovely thing to do, is just fraternize with other readers and then try and extend that out to the non-reader population, of people who might be searching for something. A lot of people are in the dark. They're really struggling with their spiritual things and with their beliefs. And in some ways, it's sort of what we're trying to do is give these people, it's the next sort of level out from the readership type of involvements that we have, is to go out and try and go to places where people might be spiritually hungry, or you can't even guarantee that you know where to go for that. You've just got to really live the teachings in whatever the best way you can, and hope that somehow you're going to be able to give them help them with some kind of spark in them to find, just to help them with their spiritual journey.
When somebody is personally inspired, everything just changes for them, because there's no doubt that once we turn towards the desire to seek for truth, that we are personally helped in so many different ways, and seeing those the repercussions of that in other people is so rewarding. That their horizons widen, their concepts deepen. I just think that's something very special, and that's the type of service work that I know all of us on this call are interested in, is trying to find a way of giving people the ecstatic heights to contemplate while they still deal with the rugged reality of living on this planet.
It's like introducing someone or sharing with someone a beautiful piece of music. The Urantia book's like it's such an integrated symphony of there's parts in it that you could say it's like Socrates on steroids. There are so many different aspects to the Urantia book. It's just such a treasure trove of concepts and ideas, and it can inspire people in so many different areas. And it's just one of those things you just want to put it out there and give people the opportunity to discover it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
So we can't do the pilot after show without mentioning Derek's epic mic drop moment. I think you know what I'm talking about. Because now you're going to have your own Bart Simpson moment where everyone is like, say the thing, Derek, say the thing, the UFO.
Oh, the joke. Yeah, the joke. Yeah. All right.
Say the thing, okay. Derek.
Yeah. Say the thing. Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah,
I really loved the humor that you were able to incorporate into the pilot. A lot of funny moments.
It's something that I'm a little bit nervous about because I don't think I've seen much that's been created for the Revelation that really has this kind of humor in it. So it could go either way, but I feel good about it.
You're adding a bit of your personality into it, and that.
Well, why we don't have to be like super serious all the time about it. I mean, let's have a little fun too, and still learn and still talk and still speculate and still study, right? So
yeah, well, I mean, humor's the antidote to taking ourselves too seriously. And man, there's nothing better than a good joke.
That's right. Yeah. I will say that took 12 takes for me to do that with a straight face. It took 12 but takes.
You got it.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
The director must have been pissed.
He was very patient with me. It was very good. And just on that note, I'd really like to do a shout out to my friend Darren Hunter, one of my oldest friends, who volunteered his time for all of the interviews to help produce them and to just, he was there for clarity. And I really, really want to thank him for that. It was really, really good.
Round of applause.
I love Darren. He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's amazing. I love that guy.
Awesome.
It was good.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
I wanted to mention one thing because it really struck me, and about just how good it was put together in the writing, and specifically this line, which I'll read out because I thought this was great.
The silence of the stars is not proof of emptiness. It is proof of distance. Not only the distance of light years, but the distance of wisdom.
I don't know who wrote that line, but that's a great one.
I got to say, some of the stuff that came out, I don't know where it came from. Yeah. I've actually completed the first 5 minutes of the first episode of season 1 as well, and I wrote that script in an afternoon, and I don't know where that came from either. So I'm just really thankful.
Eric, I love the narrator's voice. It's a really lovely voice.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's very disarming. It's very disarming.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. It's an AI voice. It's one of the best AI voices I have ever found. And I've named her Yakidiak.
Of course you have.
Don't come back.
Of course he has, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll if you look at the end credits, you'll see her name there.
So how did you get it to work? Did you speak it and then she overrode your she?
It's text to speech. So I the whole narration, I submitted the text, and then I spent a lot of time getting the intonation as the way it was. And even after that, once I put it in the video editor, I had to cut it up and space it, and so it sounds like it does, yeah. But there's something about that voice that just it just makes you feel like you're being hugged almost. It's a really wonderful voice, yeah. So whoever did that voice, thank you. I don't know where that voice came from, but wow.
All right, folks. I think we've done some good work here. But before we go, I just wanted to open up the floor for any final thoughts that anyone may have. You can speak or not, but yeah, anyone?
I think it would be really cool. One of the, like you mentioned mic drops. So that joke, I suppose it's a mic drop, but I got to say that I think a lot of people won't even catch on that it's a joke until we've like gone further because it's so straight faced. But Josh had an amazing mic drop moment when he sat there and he said, "So how's that for perspective?"
Oh yeah,
I remember that. That was excellent.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
And there's another mic drop moment in there that I was hoping maybe Kathleen could maybe talk about a little bit more. When we're talking about the Fermi paradox and answers to that, and she said the short answer is that most of them are invisible. And then Kathleen, you went off and you talked on a different topic, and I was like, when I was editing, I was like, oh, I wish you would have said more about that. And so I was wondering if maybe you could share what that actually means when you say that most of them are invisible, because that to me was an amazing mic drop moment in itself.
So when I said they were invisible, I was really referring to these celestial beings that we just don't see, but we're introduced to them through the Urantia book, so we know that they're all around us. You know, we've got the guardian angels, we've got the thought adjusters, we've got the midway creatures, we've got the whole hierarchy of beings that are described in the Urantia book. It's like if you could see them all, you wouldn't be worrying about where are they because you'd be swamped with them. So that's why I say they're invisible, because I'm thinking more in terms of the celestial beings and not so much of the planets like us with people like us on it and those people. I just figure that they're on their own journey and we're on our own little journey. But so that's mainly what I meant. Does that kind of cover it for you?
That's wonderful. Yeah. That's such an important point, I think. And I think it's also important to acknowledge that that's where I'm not sure what the word is, we become part of that core once we die as well. All of the mortals who start out as mortals on their planets, once they die, they become part of this invisible celestial inhabitation of the whole universe, right? So,
and that's the way I mainly think about being a material being on this material planet, is it's really going to be such a short period of time in our ascension career that it's going to be more about being on the Morontia world, and then becoming spirit beings will be the most relevant part of things. And of course, we'll always remember our time on this earth with hopefully a lot of good memories. But it is such a small part that I sort of feel that the celestial part of it is going to be the real journey. This is just kindergarten down here, getting ready for real life.
All right, folks, guess what? The first episode of the Imperfections of Days podcast is just about in the books. And I do think we did some good work here. So off to the editing studio for Josh. everyone, say goodbye.
Yay, all right.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye,
What a
everyone.
blessing to
Thanks
be
Bye.
here.
thanks for doing
Thanks,
this.
guys.
This was great.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, did it? Done.
Congratulations
Absolutely.
on your first episode.
Premiere, double premiere.
Thanks for all your,
Congratulations on your
thanks
first
for all your
episode.
help.
Oh, yeah.
Good work, guys.
Yay.
All right.
Like that.
Thank you.
Star White,
Bye.
and we're out.